Alright. It's me again. Last one. The specific precautions you can take once you actually get your prescriptions home. Do not store prescription medication in the medicine cabinet of your bathroom. Do not store them in a cabinet in your kitchen either. Unless the cabinet is the type that is not open to the cabinet next to it, then you can put an actual lock on your cabinet, a padlock or a combination lock. Otherwise, get yourself a lock box or a safe. You're going to want one that could survive a fire, and I'll explain why in a couple of minutes. And you're going to want one that's large enough to hold all of your bottles. Store your meds in that lockbox or that safe. Keep the lockbox in a safe location that is not readily visible, and do not tell anybody where you keep that box. Do the same with the keys. Put them in a place that is safe and that you're going to remember where you put them, and don't tell anybody where they are. If you have to use a combination lock and you write the combination down, do not leave the written combination with the box. It would make it too easy to open it. So keep the written combination somewhere else, and again, don't tell anybody where it is or what it is. Now, there may be some exceptions to that. If you live alone, you may not have to hide the box or hide the key. In that case, you may be able to use one of those drug sorters, like the little weekly drug pill thing, and keep a week's worth of your meds by daily dosing in one of them, and the rest of it in the lockbox, so that if somebody does break in, they'll take the medication sorter and not the box. So then you only lose a week's worth of your medication and not the whole month. Whether or not you tell somebody where the key is, again, that might depend on your situation. If you're married, you may tell your spouse. But the fewer people that know, the safer your drugs are. Now, the other bit of precautions that comes up once your medications get home comes with disposing of the empty bottles, the receipts, and the drug information sheet that most pharmacies now print off. For your bottles, here's what I do for mine. On the label, I use a Sharpie, a black Sharpie marker, and color over all the information. My name, my address, my doctor's name, the date, and the name of the drug, and how many times a day I'm supposed to take it. I do that because my next step is to try to remove the labels. If the label does not come off completely, you've at least blacked out the information. So what little bit might be left isn't going to tell somebody what drug was in the bottle. Then try to take the labels off, like I said. Then shred the labels. When disposing of the shreds, put a few in a different trash can. For the receipts, do the same. Shred them. Unless you have to keep the receipts for taxes or insurance purposes. If that's the case and you need to keep the receipts for tax or insurance purposes, file them away. Don't leave them laying on your counter where a visitor can read them, or on your coffee table. Put them away. If you're hurting too much or feeling badly that day, leave them in your purse, or at least put them, in a small drawer or something where they can't be seen. The drug information sheets, the first thing you want to do is read it. Read it very carefully. These sheets will tell you a lot of very important information about your medication, including some of the uses that it's used for, some of the side effects, possible drug interactions, and information like that. It's a good idea to read those sheets every time you get one, even if it's the same medication that you've been on for months or years. The reason for that is when there's new information, the sheets change. This way you can keep up with and be informed about any new information that is released about your drug. If, like me, you like to keep these prescription drug information sheets, always take out the old one, put the new one in its place. Usually I have mine in a file cabinet, and then shred the old one. And again, dispose of the shreds in more than one trash can. The reasons for blacking out the labels, removing as much of the label as possible, and shredding your receipts and drug information sheets, and then separating those shreds into multiple trash cans, is because addicts and dealers have been known to go through people's trash. They'll actually steal your trash bag, take it home or wherever they go with it, and go through your trash, looking for bottles with labels, receipts, drug information sheets. If they find shredded paper, they try to put it together like a jigsaw puzzle so they can read it. If you've got a few shreds in different trash bags, they're not going to be able to get a full label, a full receipt, or a full drug information sheet, which means they're not going to be able to find out as easily what medications can be found in your house. When they do find out, because you just throw the bottle away with the label on it and the receipts, you don't shred them, you don't black them out, nothing, then they will rob your house to get the drugs. They are getting desperate to get their hands on especially narcotic painkillers and anxiety drugs like Xanax, Valium, Ativan, etc. They can get quite a bit of money now for these meds on the street because it's getting harder and harder for them to get them. And, the fewer there are, the higher the money, or the higher the price they can charge. The bottles, once you've taken the labels off, I actually keep mine, some of them anyway, and they can be used to store things in them, like screws, or if you do hobbies like making jewelry, they make great little storage containers for beads. I've got some needlework needles in some of mine. Or you can put them out and have them recycled, which is a good thing to do with them. I have kids in my house, which includes 2 teenagers and a preschooler. She's 4. So I always keep my medications locked up. In that lockbox, you should keep not only your bottles with your prescription medications in them, but also any post-dated prescriptions that your doctor gave you. Some pain management doctors will only see a patient every 3 months, and when they see them, they post-date prescriptions so that it can be filled every 30 days for those 3 months. If you lose the post-dated prescription, the doctor, a lot of them now, will not replace it. So keep your prescriptions in the lockbox. And like I said, mine is fire retardant. There's a good reason for that. I chose this because my doctor made it very clear to me that any lost, stolen, or destroyed medications or prescriptions will not be replaced for any reason. I did ask him outright, so if my house burns down, you won't replace my prescriptions? He said no. Apparently the DEA has given many pain management doctors guidelines. And one of those guidelines is if a patient says they've lost their prescription or lost their meds, the doctor is required to automatically assume that that patient is an addict or somebody who diverts their drugs by selling them or selling the prescriptions, and not to replace them. Further, the contract that I had to sign with my doctor's office, and my little cartoon video talks about these contracts, says clearly that loss of medication or prescriptions for any reasons will result in my being discharged from this doctor's care. So despite the fact that I've been with this same doctor for 9.5, almost 10 years, and I've never called for an early refill, I've never lost my prescription, I've never lost my medication, I've always passed the drug test, I've never broken any of the rules, if, gosh forbid, my house would have burned down and my post-dated prescriptions got destroyed, not only would he not replace them, but I would be immediately discharged from his practice, which means I would lose all pain control that I have. And I am dependent, so I would go straight into withdrawal. Withdrawal can be dangerous, especially for somebody with high blood pressure, which I also have. In that case, withdrawal from opiates does increase your blood pressure and your heart rate, can cause a heart attack. Not a chance I want to take. And my understanding about all of this from speaking with other chronically ill patients and those who have chronic pain is that doctors are doing this all over the country. These rules are being enforced by the doctors in such a black and white fashion, meaning you're either an addict or you're not. There's no middle ground. There's no excuse for losing your prescriptions or what have you. It's basically to protect their own asses from the DEA's persecution, because doctors are being persecuted. So it is, it's basically in your best interest to protect your medications, not just from theft by addicts, but also to make sure that you do not lose your pain management. I hope this information was useful, and if you have any questions at all, please feel free to ask them. I will be happy to answer them. And I hope everyone's having a good day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.